There is certainly a double game week brewing just around the corner. Is now the right time to make the moves, or is it time to steady the ship and think about it all long term? Welcome to the Game Week 23 edition of the FPL Ever Reliable Addicts Podcast. It's time, as usual, to fire away. Ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, good evening, good morning, or even the in between, good afternoon. Welcome to yet another edition. And you could see there's a lot of people selling that guy out of our teams. And there's also someone in the panel, as per usual, the ever punctual, reliable, the flamboyant Reverend Mikey Ferguson, who is not so cold on it. Hello, good evening.
Yeah, good evening, mate. Really glad to be on as well. Always a pleasure to hang out with yourself and also our wonderful people in the chat as well. Got all the usual FPL addicts in the chat, the usual suspects. Much love to Miriam, our little force of positivity and love in the chat. We love you guys. Gary, Colm, as always, ever present. Hello, addicts. It is Assemble O'Clock. We are ready to cook today. And let us know in the comments how your game week went. But yeah, it's great to be here, Chaza, and looking forward to hopefully another decent game week.
Well, tell you what was good. It was good to finally see you once again in person. I think we should start there. We saw Reidy as well. It was a cracking catch up, wasn't it? And I forgot how tall Reidy was.
Yeah, it was great. And just to give a bit of context to the rest of the chat, Chaza came over, stayed at my house for a couple of days. This is what the FPL community is all about. Making friendships, forming those bonds, exploring the world together, going on adventures. And we went on a little adventure, didn't we, Chaza? We went all the way. I had to hold my nose, by the way, guys. We went down. Past Anfield, I know, but I did direct people past Goodison first. However, on the way past Anfield, going into Anfield, right before the Champions League game, I was like, lads, there's a footballer. And I could tell it was a footballer because it was a bright orange McLaren, right? A bright orange McLaren. And who drove past us but Mo Salah himself? And I'm taking that as a sign, Chaza. It's a sign. It's a sign for me this week.
A sign that you're going to triple captain him a week earlier than usual?
No, I'm just going to captain him, obviously. But it's a sign because we saw him in the flesh. He drove past us in this bright orange McLaren. And so that was pretty cool. And I got to meet your friend Churchy as well. And yeah, that's what FPL is all about, man. It's just, getting those friendships, pushing each other to do better, being competitive together. So yeah, looking forward to continuing it.
Pushing each other. It's always the case, especially when it comes to our mini league each week. And a cracking game week from you with 65 points, a manager of a week across our panel. Honestly, just take it away.
So what's the first thing we noticed, chat? See that captain's armband? Do you see that captain's armband? You've got to give me some credit there. I think it was a bold choice, and obviously I was chasing as well, so I had to do something a little bit different. There's not many weeks where it's a sensible idea to go against Salah, but this was definitely one of those weeks where the option was there, and it was still risky, and so I just thought, you know what, I'll send it. It was another week where I feel like I had triple Newcastle, and that was a little bit bad. I know Lewis Hall got the assist, so that wasn't actually like that terrible. Robinson coming in, ever reliable. Great to have him in my team, as always. Trent Alexander-Arnold, everyone was doubting him a couple of weeks ago, and he's just silenced all of the haters for me. And I'm very, very happy to own him going into that double game week. And, of course, Chris Wood. Chaza, you could say I've got double Wood there, double Wood points, because of that captaincy armband. And so, really, really happy to do that that week. Cole Palmer blanking. I'm not worried about him at all. He was playing a little bit deeper, and he was playing against Wolves, which was disappointing recently as well. So it's not been awful though. We've still been enjoying some Cole Palmer points. Morgan Gibbs-White with the assist as well. Super reliable player. He feels like having Saka in my team again. Not getting those explosive returns every week from Morgan Gibbs-White, but he's a player that just ticks over so nicely, and I'm really happy to have him in my team. He's also a player that does not blank in game week 29 as well, and is also a little bit of a differential. So, really happy with my team. My bench, if I just scroll down for a second, there is, we've got, the correct benching decisions that were made. Rodgers and Conser, both respectively blanking. Good game week all round. Obviously, a little bit of a shame about the Newcastle performance, but you can't have it all, and you can't have it all the time either. So overall, quite happy with my game week, especially relative to others.
Excellent summary, well epitomised there based on your performance, Rev. Now, what is one thing you notice about this graphic?
What do I notice about the graphic?
Yeah, I'm not sure if some people have noticed it, but the bench, when you look at it, it's got a lot slimmer.
Yeah, I don't know why they've done that. Yeah,
I do know, because from next week we've got the assistant manager.
Got the old ass man.
Ass man.
Yeah.
No, ass man. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So that's something else to look forward to. But before we move on from my team, let's just catch up with the chat. We've got Jonathan. Sorry if I've butchered that, mate, but he says he's tripled up Liverpool, Diaz, Salah, and Trent. He's got no transfers left, and yet he has Raul in his squad. Is it okay to have him, or -4 for Mateta? Personally, I'd just keep hold of Raul. Fulham. They play Man United.
They do.
That's everything you need to know, mate. Man United are very leaky at the moment and will certainly concede. And if someone's going to score for Fulham, it's highly likely that Raul will be involved. Yeah, I don't personally think you need to go taking a little -4 for Mateta, mate. But thanks for coming into the chat. And thanks for firing away those questions. If you've got any more, feel free to ask away. Colm, he says Salah's XG versus Ipswich is nearly as high as double game week 24. Yet his expected points going in to this particular game are, it's tempting. Ipswich at home, but I think always I'd prefer to save that triple captainship for the double game week. Jojo with a controversial statement here. What do you think about that one, Chaza? Think about Jojo's assertion.
I still think Mateta, but I still reckon it's a reasonable shout of Raul outscoring him.
Yeah, absolutely.
But first, Raul's got to start. He's got competition against Muniz.
Isn't Muniz injured?
Oh, in fairness, I really don't know. Quentin would have more info.
Yeah, to be honest, that there would be Muniz propaganda. So let's have a look at.
Yeah,
I personally do think that Muniz is injured.
He might well.
No, he's got no flags.
So
he played 5 minutes against West Ham, 19 minutes against Leicester. So, interesting. He might be ready to start. So you know what? There is a consideration, but I think whilst I don't know, I still think It's not really that much. I don't feel like it's worth a -4, to be honest.
Mm. Well,
4 precious points. Yeah.
Every point is precious this campaign. And speaking of precious points, some were wasted yet again. And I thought I'd be clever, but I ended up being quite stupid. Virgil on the bench over Timber ended up with 43 points. Palmer being a failure. Palm on the face. Got Wood and Robertson and Anger assist of all things, and that's about it.
Yeah, very interesting. I think people called me a madman when about a few weeks ago I sold Saar. Since then, he's had 1 return. I wasn't entirely convinced, to be honest. I think the data was there, but I think if there's something I've learned as an FPL player over the past few years, is that sometimes you do have to go with your gut. And I was watching Palace and they didn't feel convincing. I feel like he was getting in a lot of the right positions, but it didn't feel like it was ever going to happen. There were some times where, of course, they did look really dangerous, and that's fine. But I just felt like Morgan Gibbs-White was a better option. But for those of you who've hung on to Saar, he does have some good fixtures coming up, and hopefully you'll be rewarded soon.
It's a funny one with Crystal Palace at the moment, isn't it? Because there's some assets who, well, one's come back from injury and firing, and then there's one who's just been underperforming, and then there's one who's been shaking the room. If anything, Mateta.
Yeah, he's certainly stirring up a fuss, of course, with a double-digit haul in his last game week. He's scored 2 goals, and the thing that's quite impressive about that is his expected goal involvement is 1.24 over the course of that 90 minutes, which it's been really impressive. And over the past 2 game weeks as well, he's averaged over 1 expected goal involvement as well. So he's certainly one of those players with that magic combination of data and output at the moment. So if people are looking for a striker and you're not looking to take a -4, I'd certainly say maybe look no further than Mateta. They do have some pretty decent fixtures. Hopefully the Everton game won't be so easy for them. Maybe under Moyes, Everton might be a little bit more solid, but Brentford and Man United, those are 2 fixtures in which Palace certainly can score some goals.
Tom did ask, where is Mateta? You may see him later in the episode, depending what happened in the live transfer section. Still figuring it out. Public Luke. And this doesn't really need figuring out. He's still on top, and that is Tom Stone's 18-point lead with 62-point performance. Fair play, but some big movers and shakers up the top with Jarko and Stephen both getting green arrows in that one too. Yes, we've got the sound back. Let's go. Let's go. Thank you.
Can you hear that?
Like, that's what it all really is all about. Liverpool. You were speaking about double game weeks and what Everton can bring to them. I think a lot of managers want to invest in a third slot. Now, my question is, does the slot go into defence? Does the slot go into midfield?
An honest slot.
Or, yes, you're correct, the manager himself. Yeah. That is a big discussion, isn't it? What's your take on it? And the assistant managership really does come at a very intriguing time.
Yeah, it really does. And I think a lot of people might be tempted to go for it, especially with the conversation around the third Liverpool asset being so contentious. Personally, I'm not going to use the assistant managership over the next few game weeks. I feel like we might get some better opportunities to use such a chip. I also think that the double game week against Leicester and Everton for Mo Salah, I feel like that's a great opportunity to use the triple captain. So people will probably...
Wait, aren't they playing Bournemouth?
It's Leicester and Everton? For the double game week. So we're talking about the chips.
Yeah, Liverpool, they're playing Bournemouth.
Let's have a look. Oh, sorry, Bournemouth and Everton. Yeah, my fault.
No, that's okay.
Sorry about that. Don't know where I got Leicester from.
No, carry on your point.
Sorry about that.
It is important.
So, and I feel like Liverpool are a great side. They've been doing well in the Champions League. They're top of the Champions League, top of the Premier League, and so, and for me as well, like it almost feels like the upside of using the assistant manager chip on the Liverpool manager isn't exactly the risky way to play. So for example, if Tottenham lose their manager and they get some players back, they might find themselves with a really good team stranded in like 16th place. And so at some point they will have some good fixtures and they might find themselves lower down the table. And that might be a great opportunity to get those bonus points for beating teams that are above you. So that's one opportunity for the assistant manager chip. But against Bournemouth and against Everton, it's a perfectly good time to use a triple captain for me.
I think so. Yeah. What about those? And great points. I'm fully in agreement. I really like how it's not as risk averse such move playing the assistant manager chip very early on. What about those who decided to play a Haaland early in the season? They don't have a triple captain chip left. Is it still worth a consideration playing a chip anyways for a double game week in 24?
If I didn't have the triple captain, I think it's obviously team dependent, to be honest, because I think that there is an argument to be made that like the Liverpool players could just get a fair amount of points just on their own, and tripling up on Liverpool over the double game week might be just worth it anyway, and you can save your chip for later for another double game week. Because there are some great options there. You do obviously have Cody Gakpo. You also have Alisson as well, and those players will do really well. They will get points. Right now, Cody Gakpo is utterly nailed, especially as Diogo Jota has been having a few more injury issues as well. So it feels like an absolute no-brainer. It feels like a perfect time to just get those 3 Liverpool players in, enjoy your points, don't overthink it, and maybe save the assistant manager chip for later, even if you have already used the chip at triple captain.
Yeah, in fairness, to complement what you're saying, spot on, in agreement with the triple up idea, because not only do I have Ipswich a double game week, but after in 25, I've got Wolves at home. They've got Man City away, which is a hard fixture, but we've seen just recently too, Man City, they're very susceptible down back, followed by Newcastle and Southampton, Villa away, and then Everton at home. So it's a lot of upside right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so yeah, let's report back to our chat. Devianathan has a midfield of Diaz, Salah, Gordon, and Alanga. Please rate my midfield. I would say that's a solid 8 out of 10, that, mate. I think personally, I think even though Chelsea play against Man City this week, I feel like it might be a mistake to go without Cole Palmer. Obviously, Cole Palmer is going back to his old club. And I know that we call him Cold Palmer, but I think he's certainly going to be fired up to prove a point against his old club. I think also Man City only have one recognised centre-back that is fit and available at the moment. So, that's why I unfortunately can't give that a 10 out of 10 personally, but I still think that that's a great midfield and that'll serve you well over the next few weeks for sure.
Great stuff and really solid midfielder there too from him. Great review there. On to the Women's League, and there has been a bit of big movement, just quietly. Anne is just got the lead. Julia Joe had a great week with 65 points. Mira, unfortunately, has slipped down to 3rd spot for the first time, I think, in a very long time. But there is a 38-point gap between 3rd and 4th and 13 between the top 3. So it is very competitive.
Yeah, it's a 3-horse race right there. at the moment, unless Mel DJ can really start continuing to have some good game weeks just like that one. But you know, shout out to those folks and keep going. Well done, you're absolutely smashing it. Yeah, and you know, continuing the love for the people in the chat. You know, Miriam, you know what it says, Mikey, you make me smile. Miriam, you make us smile as well, mate. We love the fact that you're always here, bringing the positivity and calm. He says, I'm looking at the Assmanship near the end of the season to use against teams that could well be on the beach. Really good point, mate, and I think that is really well made. You know, I think it was me, wasn't it, who talked about did I captain someone against? Was it Aston Villa? And whilst Aston Villa were a really good team, but Aston Villa were on the beach, and
5-0.
Yeah, and they got battered 5-0. Yeah.
Who'd you
Yeah,
captain, Mateta?
I don't know. I don't know who it was, but at the same time, like, you know, being on the beach is a very real thing, and we can't forget about it just because we're right in the slap bang in the middle of the season. So yeah, really great point there from Colin. You know, there are certain teams that are just going to be absolutely wounded at that point, or have nothing to fight for, or have too much to fight for, and they might have to attack loads and might end up being vulnerable. So, you know, we certainly the longer we wait, you know, the whatever we think is true or not true about when to use it, the fact remains that the longer we wait, the more information we will have about what teams are doing at that point and what they do or don't need to do, or do or don't need to achieve in a particular fixture. So yeah, great point, mate.
It is. And what sides do you reckon may be worth targeting? I know it's still a long way to go, but do you believe it might be, for example, Tottenham, West Ham, or even Everton?
I think Everton are a tricky one because I feel like maybe I'm biased, but I at least hope that we are, you know, turning a corner under David Moyes. We saw a little bit of an improvement, especially in that first half against Tottenham Hotspur, and that was a great win for us. The mentality is still maybe not quite there, but perhaps that's something Moyes can really work on to give a bit of robustness to these players. But to go 3-0 up was great. Obviously, we play Brighton next, so that will be a real test for us. You know, Brighton are a side that haven't lost in their last 5 games, I think. And so they're a team who are really solid. So that will be a real test for us. And so, yeah, but at the same time, I feel like, you know, and I hate to say this, but when it comes to teams to target, Leicester, Ipswich, Southampton, sorry guys, like they are like, or like, and I don't mean this disrespectfully. I say this out of a place of, I'm an Everton fan, guys. I know what it's like for my team to be really struggling. I know what it's like to watch an awful team every week who are really struggling to compete. But I feel like Ipswich, Leicester, and Southampton, they are not in most games that they play, and it must be really hard to watch. So they are teams that I would certainly target. You know, if you're if you've got a striker around the top of the league playing someone around the bottom, like we do with Salah and Ipswich, I feel like it's an absolute no-brainer this week to just target them. You know, Gary says EFC can turn it around. I hope that we can, and we certainly showed sparks of that against Spurs. But yeah, for me, the teams to target, guys, Southampton, Spurs, and Ipswich. Yeah, for sure, teams to target.
Wow, there's a selection to choose from, if anything. And speaking of selections, what we're about to load up are the transfers in and out. Some surprises, I believe, especially one who has already been mentioned. Hot one, a premium. Despite going away to his former stomping ground, he is heavily featured in the transfer out for. But is he the biggest surprise?
Sorry, which player again? Did you
Yeah,
say? I was just cut
Cole
out.
Palmer. Is he the biggest surprise of this list, or is there someone else?
Huge surprise. There's no one else that's a massive surprise. I mean, to be honest, I'm kind of surprised to see a lot of people still held on to Jackson this long. I myself held on for Jackson for way too long myself. You know, some certain Aussie fanatics might still have Jackson in their team, you know, and I feel like at the same time, he's got some really good fixtures coming up. Every week, he's just really hard to sell. And he also plays in game week 29. Like, you know, it's one of those that we just wonder, is it worth selling him? I am very surprised to see Palmer, though, especially when Man City have one centre back. I know that Chelsea aren't PSG, but we just watched Man City ship 4 to PSG midweek, you know, and City were playing a very strong side. So they are leaky. So yeah, very surprised. Pardon me. Very surprised to see him. Good evening, by the way. FPL Cortex. He says, "Good evening, people. Shall we start Kerkez, Robertson, Awobi, or Sarr?" What do you think about that, Chaza? That's a tough one. He's got a very big
Yeah,
bench and headers there.
I would start Wobie, and I'd also start Robinson.
Okay, interesting.
What about you?
Who the Bournemouth play? Bournemouth play Forest, and
Home.
Forest, yeah, and you know, Bournemouth are a team certainly that are in form. So it's one of those where, do you think form or fixtures is the absolute best? Fulham play Man United, so for me, there's Man United have been getting really like ruined on the wings defensively recently, and so I think starting Robinson is the move. You know, it's obviously tough to bench Kirkez, especially when Bournemouth have been in such good form. But I feel like United are certainly maybe a defence to exploit at the moment.
Well said. We've got someone else who's joined, him being Alex Churchy. So,
Churchy, welcome, mate.
Welcome.
Good to see you in the chat.
It's nice and small, but everyone bringing something to the table. That's the important part. I wanted to touch on Bournemouth very quickly. Justin Kluivert being well the most transferred in. Does that come as a surprise, or
it does, especially when they're about to play one of the best defenses in the league? You know, I think we see this every week. All of the casuals go, "Oh, we just got a hat trick," and it's just chasing points. I'm not saying that Kluivert's a bad pick, by the way. I think he's possibly a great option from when it's the game after Liverpool. These play Southampton and then Wolves or something like that. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You brought it up. Yeah. Great. Yeah. Southampton, Wolves, Brighton, Spurs, Brentford, Ipswich. Like that. That's a very creamy fixture list for Bournemouth, and I think that Kluivert is a great option, but in 2 game weeks time, to be honest. And so, yeah, again, another surprise, especially when he's about to play the 2 best defenses in the league, which is Forest and then Liverpool. So, yeah, interesting moves there. Yeah. Cortex is absolutely correct. You know, there's 2 very tough fixtures for Bournemouth. I think we wait and see on them personally. And Gary agrees. He says, knee-jerk managers and casuals, go ahead and enjoy. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, fair play.
Mateta not even in the top 5. Is that a bit of a surprise omission? Or you still don't like Crystal Palace?
It is and it isn't. Like, it's some... I don't know what the narrative is around Brentford, to be honest. I feel like Brentford are such a team that we don't know what they're going to be every week. Like, we know that they're a really solid side, you know, that and the managers work some absolute wonders with them. And we know that Mbumo and Wisa certainly are some great players. But, you know, when when it comes to when it comes to Brentford, we don't know, like, are they a side that's really good defensively, or are they a side that's leaky? And we just don't know. And I feel like people are scared to bring in players against Brentford for some reason. So yeah, interesting. It is interesting. I personally think he's a great shout, to be honest. I think Crystal Palace can certainly go to Brentford and get something out of the game. And Mateta certainly will cause some issues. But it's one of them. Like, I don't know why he's not there. And I think maybe a reason, if I was going to really argue objectively against why Mateta isn't there, I think it's just that there are so many decent options in the forward line right now. So Wisa is one with good fixtures. Chris Wood is someone with good fixtures. Isak is absolutely essential. I know some people don't like the E word, but he is. If you don't have Isak in your team, you're probably not ranked very high, and he might be the reason, and he might be the one killing you every week. So everyone's got Isak, everyone's got Wood. A lot of people are going for Gakpo. A lot of people are going for Wisa. There's all kinds of different reasons why people aren't going for Mateta, and the fact that we only have 3 forward slots might be another contributing factor.
Is Mateta not in the top 3, do you believe?
It's team dependent, isn't it? So I think the people might have a lot of other fires to put out. So, like, if you're sat there with Yao Pedro, Isak, and Chris Wood, right, which like a lot of people are, like I'm sat on Wisa, Isak, and Chris Wood. What are you sat on, Chaza?
I'm sat on currently Wood, Jackson, and Isak.
Wood, Jackson, and Isak. So, unless you've got, like, if you've got Jackson, you might be thinking about going to Gakpo, because that's a very easy move, and Liverpool have the double, right? So I just think, like, Wood and Isak, and then you get one more slot, and Gakpo might be the one. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm sort of giving you the eyebrows there, because
you can give me the eyebrows. I think this
in a good way. In a good way.
Yeah. If you're going for Mateta with Liverpool having a double game week coming up, it feels. It doesn't feel bad. I feel like the word I want to use is suboptimal, if you know what I mean. I feel like we can do better. And I know Mateta's been in great form, but I don't feel like he is going to score every week. And, the double game week certainly is something to target.
Well, as always, the Revmeister bringing all this wisdom like he does in every episode. Time for fixtures.
Yeah.
Pick one, because we've mentioned a couple already, but are they your standouts, or is it something else?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of standout fixtures here, but given the fact that my tagline this week is that I am not going cold on Parma, I'm going to pick Man City versus Chelsea. I think that could be quite a high-scoring game. We got 2 teams here who are quite attacking, 2 teams who have been quite vulnerable defensively. We've got Chelsea, who last week in particular had their defenders flying up and down the pitch, causing a lot of problems. Cucurella, Reece James was even getting involved in the attack and returns. So with Chelsea only having 1 recognised centre back, I feel like once Chelsea stretch them with those flying fullbacks, those gaps in the middle could really expose them, and that could leave space for someone like, but not necessarily, a Nicholas Jackson or a Cole Palmer, like, those players in the middle who might look to exploit that space. I'll be honest with you, like, even if you have Nicholas Jackson, I'm not even sure he's a sell against Man City. Do I think Man City will win the game? I think Man City will win the game. Do I think they will concede at least 2? Yes. Yeah. Also, that's also true. So yeah, it's quite interesting. But But before you get onto your game, Chaza, we've got Rayan. He says is goalkeeper, Raya and Sells. His defence, Hall, Timber, Virgil, Robinson. His midfield, Palmer, Salah, Bruno, Ahmad, Rogers. And his strikers are Isaac and Wood.
Well,
Changes?
I think four at the back, and I'll probably say Rogers on field, Ahmad on the bench. Wolves away or Bournemouth at home? Probably Wolves away. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's got 2 transfers left. Well, let us know what you're thinking about there, Ian. Thanks for putting it in there. FPL Cortex, he says Sancho comes into the 11, surely. Like maybe he could really stretch those players for sure. And so yeah, that's quite an interesting move. Yes, especially with Man City having one recognised centre back. And Divyanathan, he says thoughts on Robinson for the game week.
Oh, you feel him?
Yeah. Totally. You totally feel him. Man United, have had some issues getting exploited down the flanks as well. So, there could be a cheeky assist in there for Robinson if we're, again, lucky this week, as we have been with him. He's been doing pretty exceptionally of late with some attacking returns against West Ham and Leicester. So, yeah, hopefully that continues. Chaza, is there a fixture that stands out for you, mate?
Absolutely, there is, and I'm going straight to the top of the order on this one. Bournemouth v Forest, because they are 2 sides this season which have taken everyone by surprise. I believe Ariola's football at Bournemouth is incredibly exciting, fantastic counter-attack side. Similar to Forest, I think it's a huge game to see how much we can really read into Nottingham Forest. Bournemouth have able to conjure some big scalps against the top sides this season, and I reckon Forest is one of them. And I really don't like immediate how much I disrespect Nuno's team, because they play some really, really good football.
Yeah, they really do. They really do. And I think that is certainly one to keep an eye on, because, if Bournemouth can even go away and get a cheeky, not go away, obviously, invite Forest into the backyard and even get like a cheeky 0-0 draw, that's still a great result against a very good team. We've got to count Nottingham Forest as a very good team at this point, and they've earned that. And so, yeah, I think they've FPL Cortex. I think he's making the point about Man City. He says that they bought a centre back, haven't they? A right back, Kusanov, and a centre back. He doesn't remember his name. Yeah, I've seen some transfer moving around this week, but at the same time, I'm not too convinced how quickly they're going to bed in. We've got to remember that Pep is a systems manager. He wants his players to play the system, but he might be desperate enough to just throw them in at the deep end and see exactly how they do. So it's definitely one to watch, but certainly the chemistry won't be there at this point, and it's one to watch. But I'm certainly not selling Cole Palmer. Is the point that I'm ultimately trying to make, because I feel like they could be exposed. Yeah. Cortex, he says, I don't think he goes straight in either. Yeah, it could be one of those where it takes a little while to get bedded in.
That's correct. Before we go to possibly team selection, let's talk about Manchester City, because they're falling apart. We've already mentioned them, as you mentioned about their defence, their state of play at the moment. Is it worth investing in their attackers? Because they seem to be back into form, but they're about to endure a nightmare run of fixtures.
You know what? I was up, confession time, I was up until 2 a.m. thinking about different ways in which I could maybe get Phil Foden into my team. And the thing that put me off was the fixtures. It was the fixtures. Even if Man City are back to their Man City best, that is an awful awful run of fixtures. Like, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. Like, guys, if you haven't seen Man City's next 5 games, it's Chelsea, Arsenal, Newcastle, Liverpool, Spurs, and Forest. Now, FPL is a game where you can't have them all. And I'm not saying that Man City won't score goals against these teams. Of course they will. But the question is like, for me, is if there was ever a run in which Man City's attacking returns could be limited, it's this one. And I think that, if Man City show some good form, then maybe we could think about bringing them in against Spurs if Spurs are still woeful defensively and Spurs still have a lot of injury problems, and then we could still play them against Forest. I don't necessarily think that would be an awful idea. But at the same time, it's not for me. It's not for me.
It's a very sticky situation, I believe. I think the priority really is Liverpool assets.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, Phil Foden, if Phil Foden is back to his best and people want to jump on him and he does well, you know what? Fair play to you. I absolutely tip my hat to you. But it's a very brave move right now, given those fixtures. Very brave move.
Yeah. Rev, any other discussion points I may have missed that you were keen to sort of elaborate on, or even certain sides, before we get to what I think is probably the more integral part of today's installment, and that is team selection?
Yeah. Something that we may have missed. Let me have a think. Yeah, I think there's going to be some benching dilemmas.
It's too many.
That's obviously Nottingham Forest go away to Bournemouth, and they're quite good. And at the same time, a lot of people have Rodgers in their side, who play West Ham at home. At the moment, Rodgers is on my bench. I can't find a place for him because some of the fixtures with our most common assets are too good. And I certainly don't want to bench Palmer just right before he plays Man City, who's shipped for midweek. So yeah.
That's a very good point.
So yeah, let us know in the comments, by the way. Just so while we're talking about it, if you've got any benching dilemmas,
I want to
as well. And
if we can answer
them. Yeah, and maybe you can help us out as well. We certainly need it going into this. I know that I do. So, Chaza, seen as, and by the way, guys, me and Chaza, we talked about adding a new little dynamic to our podcast. So, as you know, the FPL Addicts podcast, the reason why we do it is we don't do it because we want to be the same as every other podcast. We believe that we want to be creative and we want to add a different dimension to it. And we believe that the different dimension to our podcast and the thing that makes us unique is the fact that we focus on our mini league. And so, one of the things that other content creators do, and I'm not belittling this in any way, shape or form whatsoever, is that they focus on what is the best individual thing to do to ultimately maybe even try and win FPL. But what we're trying to do on this podcast is we're trying to win our mini league. So our strategies become a little bit different. Our the moves that we make and the people that we captain could be a little bit different or off kilter because we're either chasing. So what that means is if you are lower in your mini league, we are trying to pick those differentials and get those opportunities to gain points on our mini league rivals. Or if you are, at the top like Chaza is, you might want to, make moves that protect your rank. So, for example, when I was trying to chase Chaza earlier in the year and I bought in Jarrod Bowen.
yeah.
Chaza just bought in Jarrod Bowen, and that meant I couldn't. Every Bowen point that I got would not affect me in gaining some rank on him. So that's part of the fun. That's part of the fun of what we do. However, what we've decided now is that to whoever is on the top of our mini league, they have to make their decisions first and then stick to them. and then whoever's like, so for example, if Reidy was also with us, he would then make his decisions, and then because I'm at the bottom of our league, you know, give me that world's smallest violin. I'm gonna be, you know, making my moves last, just so that I get some information on Chaza and Reidy, and then they can't protect. You know, we want this league to be as entertaining as possible. You know, we want it to be as close a fight as possible, and we want this to be a great watch for all you guys. You know, as Cortex says in the chat, you know, he wants this to feel like he's chatting with his mates, and it's true. That's exactly what we want, mate. You know, that is exactly what we want. So, Chaza, you know, with all of that in mind, you're first, mate. You're first.
I was just about to load up Reidy's team, but great statement and well said to you, by the way. I will have to admit, if you want to play a sound effect, go woohoo, go for it.
Is it even working?
Probably not.
Is it even?
I use.
Can you hear that?
Yeah, just about. For a second, I thought I used up all the battery the other day when I had to do the video.
I can't hear it at all.
Right, so you want my team? I could take ages. That's all I'm going to say. Or do you want Reidy's?
Well, you know what, mate? Do it, because
sure,
I'm chasing you. So you know the onus is on you to go first, and then that way you can't protect against me, and then maybe it gets a little bit closer, it gets a little bit more entertaining. You know, maybe you might be thinking about something a little bit different.
sure.
But yeah, come on, up to you, mate.
All right, first stop, of course, to the destination we want to go to. Just do Reidy's side because he's pretty much locked in. He's done Gakpo in for Raul Jimenez. That's how he's looking, 3-4-3. Ahmad on the bench. He said his side wanted to mention, so that is how he's going to roll for Gameweek 23. Now I finally get into my side. Now, just a bit of info while I try and load my team up. We've got 3 free transfers, 1.2 million in the bank. And as we're just about to unveil,
you got that dollar bills
or Eurovision's contest. Let's face it, this is how we are looking right now. This is, oh god, I hate the benching headache on this.
Wow. Okay, zoom out a little bit just so we can see.
Sure,
if that's all right, because
jeez, it's a bit out. That's very small.
Yeah. That's okay. We can go full screen and so yeah.
In goal.
Oh man, that is a. I'm glad I'm not the manager of this team this week.
I feel Aina deserves.
Help us out. Who does Chaza bench, and who does Chaza start?
I need help, guys. I really do. I believe Aina's done enough to get a start. I don't know about Sarr. Nicholas Jackson against Man City's Tea Ladies sounds appetising as well. But he can't shoot. But I was actually thinking of making a move. Well, actually, 2.
How many transfers have you got?
3.
Damn. I'd be tempted. The thing is, like, I think I would be tempted, right, with this. I would be tempted to go
roll.
Like my first instinct would be Jackson to Gakpo.
And was that it?
Bench either Robinson or Rodgers and play Gakpo and go 3-4-3 or 4-3-3. And there's something about it that still feels wrong.
First of all, I'm not benching Robinson, and I'm definitely not benching Rodgers.
Okay, so who? So let's say, for example, you either bought in. So the other question is, like, the other possible transfer that you could make is Jackson to Mateta, but I think you've already shown me how much you believe in this Crystal Palace attack subconsciously by benching Sarr already.
This is
I think maybe that tells you what's going. Like, I am the Reverend Chaza, you know, I do know what's going on deep in your soul, and you've subconsciously just showed me what's going on in your heart there, mate.
Sarr or Jackson over Aina. So I did actually think Jackson on Field over Aina. I actually hate benching Aina. I hate the thought of it. So that could be it at the moment if we had to go for what it is, or Sa.
Damn. Feels wrong, but I think everything feels wrong. You know what, though, Chaza? I will say, if your FPL team is in this position, we've got to remember that this is a very nice problem to have.
It is.
Actually, like struggling for players to field, that's a, check your privilege, guys. Check your privilege.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, it's like a millionaire wanting more, and they forget how far they've come in life.
The chat are helping you out.
Yeah, what have we got? So I got Jackson back on the bench now.
So Sorrow Jackson over Aina.
Surely Bournemouth score. I actually think Bournemouth might score. That's the thing. That's why I'm actually probably going to bench Aina by the end of it.
Carter says, upgrade the defender and bench boost. It's not an awful idea.
It's not an awful idea, nah. At the end of the stream, can you remind us what Jack is eating? Yeah, probably shit. So that bench, I've missed that. That's a good shout.
Yeah. I will. Right. I'll remind you, mate. Yeah.
So that is probably. I'm actually fine with that as it is. To be fair, do I make moves?
The thing is, if you make a move, it has to probably be for a player on your bench. I wouldn't transfer out any if you start 11.
What if we did Jackson to Mateta, Timber to Trent?
Oh, you don't have Trent? That feels wrong. Okay, so I was discussing this with a friend the other day.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are getting frustrated with Arsenal defence, right? The fact is, though, guys, that Arsenal are still putting up some of the best defensive data. And Chaza, look at Timber's fixtures, mate. Well, look at Timber's fixtures. Just get them up. I don't think you can sell before, those 3 greens in the next 4.
Well,
that feels like an absolute waste of a transfer. You've got Wolves, Leicester, and West Ham.
But for Trent? For Trent?
I'm not even sure for Trent, mate. It just feels like a waste of a transfer.
Because I'm thinking bringing the third asset in, I might as well do it next week, but I could easily do it this week. That's the thing. Because I want to upgrade.
Yeah, Colm says, go with your gut. So what's your gut saying? Colm is usually right a lot. Actually, that's something I've noticed.
It is. Yeah.
He's a very good FPL player.
I don't have all day on it.
Go with your gut. For sure. What's your gut saying? Let's imagine the deadline was in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
What would you do?
What would I do? I'd do this.
Oh, it's happening. Oh, it's happening, folks. Look at it. Oh.
If the deadline was in 2 minutes.
Damn. Oh, he's just hit confirm. Oh, he just hit confirm. He's the way he just did it like that.
Bam, Dirty's gone.
Boom, boom, boom. Mateta in the room, according to Cortex. Hey, Amit is in the chat as well. Good morning, mate.
Amit, good morning to you, mate.
How are you doing?
Jeez, you've just missed the Calabunga of it all.
No, I think he was just in time for those live transfers. You've still got a pension headache, though.
F this, man, seriously. Oh, God, but yeah, that's kind of where we are.
Yeah,
that might do it for me.
Yeah, good morning, Amit. Anyway, let us know how your team is doing, mate. Chaz, man, boom. How's it feel making live transfers, guys? Aren't live transfers fun?
I hope they are. I kind of do them for the viewers, to be honest. Just don't tell my mate Churchies, because he's missing out.
Unfortunately, I had to make a move before, so I could catch a price rise.
All right. What's your team, Merv? But guys, that is my team.
So I'm gonna just. Sorry, folks. I'll try and be a better person and share my screen a little bit earlier. But there you go. It's up there, Chaza, if you can bring it up. There it is. So possibly the most boring thing in FPL ever is goalkeeper transfers. And that's what I've done this week. I have gone Verbruggen to Alisson. I'm really happy with my team. And at the same time, I am looking at Rodgers there on my bench thinking, please don't punish me. Yeah, I mean, I didn't think that Chaza would confirm either. You know, I thought he was just going to go, well, what do you think of that? And then, you know, obviously cancel it away, but he just sent it.
Absolutely.
You know, he just sent it. Yeah, do we, so for Bruggen or Becker? Well, I don't know. For Bruggen is playing Everton, mate, and Everton, you know, even though they got 3 last week, mate, one of them was a jammy own goal, and one of them was Dominic Calvert-Lewin suddenly turning into Zinedine Zidane for a full 5 seconds, and then just like being absolute twinkle toes in the box. I don't think Lightning is going to strike twice. Out of the two of them, I would start for Bruggen. But what do you think about my team, mate? Here's my team. It's up there. Who do you think I should bench? Who do you think I should start? Obviously, the captain's armband. It's not even a consideration for me. It's the best team in the league, by the best attacking team in the league, should I say, playing against one of the worst defensive teams who've just shipped.
I've got a question.
To Ipswich, yes.
By the way, absolute phenomenal team. I reckon it's similar to mine, but my dilemma might just be even only very slim or worse because you kind of know who. Rodgers over Visser.
Rodgers over Visser. That is an interesting shout.
I think Gibbs White deserves to stay for a start. He's done too good.
Mm-hmm.
And the other 5 are non-negotiable.
Let's have a look. So the thing is, like, I'm a data guy, right?
Yeah, you're a data guy, that's fair.
And so Wies's expected goal involvement, even against Liverpool, was 0.47. His expected goal involvement against Man City was 1.64. His expected goal involvement against Southampton was 1.49. His underlying data over the past few weeks has been fantastic. It's been fantastic. And at the same time, if we look at Rodgers' underlying data, it's so hard to predict when he's going to get an attack and return. You know, against, like, we can even go as far back as Newcastle, and his expected goal involvement was nothing. Against Brighton, 0.29. Against Leicester, his expected goal involvement was nothing. Against Everton, his expected goal involvement was almost nothing. Against Arsenal, his expected goal involvement was almost nothing. For me, I'm very skeptical of playing Rodgers over Visser just because of the underlying data.
Sure.
And I think when we look at the I think the only thing that might swing it for me would be that West Ham certainly look quite shaky of late, especially without Jarrod Bowen. I feel like he brings a lot of calmness to that team. But, you know,
super high.
and also Brentford are just a good side, though. And I know that Palace are quite solid at home, but Brentford are a good attacking team. And I feel like when I compare the underlying data between Rodgers and Wisa, it's night and day. It's night and day. It's actually not even a competition. So what I've got to do as like someone who favors analytics, and I know some players don't like that, and that's fine. Like everyone, play your own game. But for me, I've got to stay true as a manager to my own philosophy, and back the numbers. The data ultimately plays out over the course of a whole season, and I hope that this will be one of those moments.
Yeah, mate, it's a ripping team. It really is.
But no free transfers in the bank though. I'm going week by week, scraping by, and this week being so bold as to make a goalkeeper transfer in preparation for the double game week as well.
How many doublers do you have? Is it 4? Sorry.
Just 3.
Yeah, right.
You won't see me bringing in a Mikalenko or a Calvert-Lewin. Yeah, that's just not going to happen, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
I haven't seen enough from Everton yet, not even as a fan.
Tell you who we haven't seen enough for a while. It's this guy who's just popped in for a cheeky comment. As Quentin and his food analogies. I know. That's good. He must have accidentally just muted his mic.
Yeah, sorry. I said hello, Quentin, my fellow metalheads. Really good to see you, mate. Yeah, really, really glad to have you in the chat. How are you getting on? How's your season going, mate? And what moves are you making, if any? Are you selling Cole Palmer? Let us know. Let us know. And what's the latest, by the way, Quentin? We actually need you. There is a person in the chat who is wondering whether or not they sell Muniz. Whether or not they sell Raul for Mateta because of Muniz. So Quentin, give us some Muniz propaganda if there is any. Is Muniz going to be back? Is Raul going to be benched? Let us know. Yeah, so Quentin is on the up. He's going from 2.3 million to 900k. And yes, they should. So I should have given more context, Quentin. It's Raul to Mateta for a -4. Is that something you would do? Is that something you would do? Anthony Phillips. Anthony Phillips is actually my friend from real life. Great to see you. Thanks for tuning in, Anthony. Always a pleasure, mate. And by the way, guys, I'm not sure if you like my studio. Anthony is someone who works with me and has been helping out a lot in this studio that's been built. And so it's an absolute pleasure working with Anthony, and he's the one who's installed the naughty air horn and everything like that. For the old. So yeah, I'm not sure if it's working so much right now, but yeah, certainly Q is cooking on gas.
Yeah. Well, there's been some ripper comments, but will the ripper comments be as of a ripper as what I'm about to do, the captaincy corner?
Oh, captain's corner! Strap yourselves in, everyone.
Strap yourselves in without the seatbelt. But if there is a player that can give you the seatbelt protection, especially with your rank, it can well be Mo Salah. He managed to conjure up 14 points in the reverse fixture. Opening game week it was at Portman Road against the Tractor Boys. He has suffered, however, back-to-back blanks. But yet again, he's set to be the runaway armband leader. Let's face it, Ipswich did concede 6 on Sunday against Manchester City. Cole Palmer is the next option. Now, this is a bit of a surprise. He goes away to the Etihad. However, City conceded 4 in Paris. And as Rev mentioned earlier in today's instalment, that Manchester City have only got one fit, recognised central defender. In addition, he is the most transferred out midfielder with 219,000 transfers out. So it could well be handy having him on field. We know what Chelsea can do on the counter-attack. Alexander Isak time, the Swedish man, the myth, and the magical creation from Tyneside. His streak is broken, unfortunately, with the amount of consecutive games he has scored in. But this could be him starting up another. The Saints have conceded the most big chances of any side in the league within the last 6 game weeks with 29. In addition, Newcastle's talisman up top has managed to accumulate 33 points in his last 3 games against promoted sides and 57 points overall in his last 6 game weeks across the league in counters, which has only proved. In addition, he's also proven to be more marginally reliable than the Egyptian who has been mentioned. 1 blank in the last 9. Erling Haaland, he scored 4 goals in his last 4 league games and scored a goal in the reversed fixture against the Steaming Blues. Jean-Philippe Mateta, let's not forget him. He likes kicking the ball in the back of the net, and he also loves kicking corner flags for fun and trying to accumulate 9 different celebrations from the moment he's kicked a goal to when he sees the broadcast camera on TNT giving it 29 points in the last 3 game weeks, 4 goals and 7 assists. So whatever your armband contender is, make sure you pick wisely, and more importantly, best of luck. But for me, I'm just going to hide behind a couch because I reckon my bench could well outscore my field, and it could be the case for every game week for the rest of the season. Hope you enjoyed it. Bash.
I was muted. I was giving the applause emoji. Yeah. Yeah, Chaza, excellent captain's corner, mate, as always. And guys, I just want to let you know that on the stream right now on YouTube, we've got 0 likes. Chaza, we've got 0 likes. No one likes us, mate.
Yeah,
no one likes
us.
us.
Guys, to like our video and our goal to get to 300 subscribers. So if you know, mate, if you know a parent, or if you know, even know a pet dog, make sure you tell them to subscribe to our channel because we do our best to provide what we're good at, and that's our strengths, and that is
it's just having a laugh in our mini league. You know, that's what we do, and it's great to involve absolutely everyone in the chat as well. So, Amit, you know what? You liked it, mate. You know what? I like you.
What a guy. He's on the FPL Australia community group chat on Twitter. So fair play to him. Thanks very much for tuning in. But, mate, double game week come next week. And I don't know how I'll feel watching these games and then seeing these amazing players just on the bench.
It's going to be tough. But I think what we've got to remind ourselves is that having a benching headache is a symptom of having a really good team. And so, you know, ultimately, you know, I don't mind if some of my players on the bench get some points as long as my players on the field also do the business. You know, so ultimately that's what we've got to keep in mind. And, you know, it might be one of them where, you know, we get some get some bench points, but it'll still be okay. Hopefully. Quentin, he says Gakpo or Alisson for the double. For me, this question is team dependent. So it depends on who you've got in goal. It also depends on whether or not you have a goalkeeper that plays in game week 29. So, for example, I had Verbruggen and Flecken double up. So I went Verbruggen to Alisson because I know that when game week 29 comes around, when Liverpool blank in game week 29, I will be able to field Flecken. So if you have a goalkeeper that can play in game week 29, then I think Alisson is a great shout. But I also think that Gakpo is a wonderful, wonderful pick. And, you know, I'm not sure about the narrative that he might get benched is true. I think he's nailed, to be honest. I think he's about as nailed as it gets for Liverpool. And, you know, even if he plays 70 minutes, 80 minutes, then you've got to take it, you know, and he's been doing great, especially for the double as well. So it's team dependent. I've already got 3 strikers that I'm very happy with. I've got some goalkeepers that I'm not too happy with, hence why I went for Alisson. You know, that was a weakness in my team that was looking to paper over those cracks. But Chaza, what do you think? Gakpo or Alisson?
All right. I think for the upside, you go Gakpo, despite there being more risk, and just onto blank Gameweek 29. Because in fairness, we don't have any actual. We've got hypothetical information, but no concrete. But with free hit these days, do you see there being more upside of a free hit chip being played in a blank game week or a double game week? Because double game week really was the cake last season.
I think we should try and do whatever we can to avoid playing the free hit in 29. That's my opinion at the moment. I think if I'm playing my free hit in 29 and I know that there are some other blank game weeks coming up in like game week 33, yeah, like that's when we predict the next double game week. I think that some of the players in there we'd want back and right immediately for the game week after, because there's going to be a double as well. So planning around, our wild card into our free hit, into our bench boost, into our assistant manager around that time could really give us some absolutely massive gains in our mini league, and that's maybe something I'm looking to capitalize on.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, well, I reckon that might do it for this installment. Is that right?
Guys, mate, we got 11 likes. I think that's like a record for us.
That's fab. Love that.
Mate,
that
thank you so much, everyone, in the chat. Just showing the appreciation. It's been really fun today. I've loved hanging out with yourself, Chaza. I love hanging out with everyone in the chat as well. Every single one of you is absolute legends. And we look set to go again next time round.
That's correct. Gameweek 24. We still haven't confirmed it, but by the looks of it, I haven't even told you yet, Rev. So I'll say it to you on air. It's Thursday night. We might do Gameweek 24 if you're around.
Yeah, that sounds fun. That sounds fun. So get it in your diaries, folks. Thursday night, we're going to have a cheeky stream and talk about what our next steps are.
Yeah, sound. Righto.
And hopefully I'll have caught up Chaza by another little chunk again this week.
Well, yeah,
keep creeping up on you.
Oh, yeah, that will be tantalizing. Let's say that. Yeah. All right, that does it. Well done.
Much love, everyone. Thank you very much.
Till next time, all the best while on the match day. Sutton.